Welcome to a special edition of An Afternoon Tea, Conversations on Career and Workforce Development and Practice. I'm Scott Solberg, Associate Director of the Center on Education and Work at the University of Wisconsin-Madison. And our conversation today is one of four being co-sponsored and coordinated by the Chamber of Manitowoc County, Wisconsin, as part of their Adult Learner Series. The career and workforce development topics that we have been exploring focus on the ways that we as Wisconsin citizens can respond to the challenges we're facing as a result of a confusing and fast-changing economy. The title of today's conversation is Empower Yourself, Retool, Reinvent, and Repackage. And today we're having a conversation with John Vardallas, who is founder and CEO of an organization called the American Boomer. The goal of today's conversation is to learn John's perspective as an expert on all things boomer. He lives in Wisconsin. He's a national advocate for boomers, conducts professional development for organizations around the country, hosts a number of resources on his website, theamericanboomer.com. That's one word. John, welcome to this special edition of the
Well,
Tea.
nice to be here, Scott. Thanks for having me.
Yeah. John, tell us a little bit about yourself and just kind of a little bit about your background.
Well, I'm a 61-year-old baby boomer. I grew up during the 1950s and 60s in the Chicago area. And I guess to kind of capsulize who I am is I have a passion for helping people reach their potential. My past 30 years of professional work, both in the public and nonprofit sectors, has always been to kind of help organizations and individuals grow and achieve their potential. I went through a big transition about 12 years ago as a baby boomer. I was downsized, I had a job transition, and at 48 years of age, I was out there looking to see, where do I go now? What do I do now? And instead of jumping into another job right away after my previous job was lost, I decided to take a step back and do some introspective thinking and assess where I am and retool, as you say, re-energize myself to really focus on what my passions were at midlife. And was I achieving those passions through my normal course of workplace development, if you will. So I went through sort of an epiphany at 48 years of age, and that's why I'm glad to see programs like this out there and the resource that you folks provide out there for career changers, if you will, re-careerers, if you will, because there is hope. There is an opportunity to really flourish in midlife in the kind of profession that you're looking to move into. So for me, it was sort of an epiphany. I began to connect the dots, I did assessments, and I really had what I consider a midlife opportunity to really follow my dream or follow my passions.
That's great. And you went an entrepreneurial route.
I did. I went the entrepreneurial route because I had looked around at similar positions that I had in the past, one of being a manager, a vice president of development, a trainer, a teacher. I looked at those and I thought, do I want to retransition into those occupations that I had built a 25-year career at, or did I really want to follow my inner dream or my inner passion, which was at the time to have my own business and to be able to do more to more folks and impact more people than I could through an individual position.
That's great. Well, let's talk about the boomer generation then, and let's talk about right now what's happening. We've had a very serious economic shift. And I think you would be in the best position to say, what are the kind of categories of experiences that many of the boomers are having right now?
Well, what's really interesting about the boomer generation, first of all, there's almost 80 million of us. We are the largest demographic in America. And the last couple of years have been very difficult on boomers because it's interesting because boomers kind of grew up with the American dream. You work very hard, you achieve things, you continue achieving things, you kind of add to your resume, if you will, or your life's goals and dreams. And the past few years with the downturn in the economy, with the downsizing of businesses and industries, with the drop in the stock market, the drop in the 401k plans, the increase in unemployment, and also the drop in the value of our homes, boomers have taken sort of a hit in terms of thinking that they could build this up into their retirement years and also be able to transfer to the generation behind them, if you will. What's phenomenal about the baby boomers right now, what we're going through, is we are the sandwich generation. We're taking care of our parents and in-laws, we're taking care of our children, and lo and behold, we also have to take care of ourselves. especially through midlife transitions, if you will, i.e. career transitions.
Right.
So it's a challenging time to be a baby boomer right now, even though many people feel, well, you guys had it good for so long, why should we worry about the baby boomers? Well, because we're really taking care of generations ahead of us as well as behind us.
What are the characteristics that boomers have that make you feel like they can weather this storm?
Well, I think one of the most top of the food chain, if you will, characteristics is the ability to stay positive, is the ability to know that tomorrow will be a better day, and we can impact that better day, if you will, by taking actions. We have never been the generation that has sort of rolled over and waited for something to happen to us. If you look at our past, we grew up during the 60s. Many of us were protesters. Many of us were activists. Many of us saw injustices and wanted to correct them and to make life better in America, and to leave the generation behind us as well as help the generations ahead of us with making it a better place.
Right.
So we always kind of grew up sort of with the cause and effect type of situation. We also were instilled the American dream. You work hard, you can achieve things. So I think the baby boomer generation sometimes gets a bad rap for saying, well, we caused everything that's going on right now because we gave our children too much, or we self-indulged too much. True, there was some of that, but I think along with the majority of the impact that we had is we gave people what I consider an opportunity to have more resources. We developed programs, we developed businesses, we helped shape America in a very positive direction, I think, by giving more folks the opportunity to follow that dream, if you will.
Sense of tenacity. Hardworking.
Hard work, tenacity, and the idea is we were problem solvers. We always figured out a way to overcome obstacles. And I think that's one of the most engaging things that I, as well as other boomers out there, have kind of brought to the fabric of American life. The fact that together we can achieve this, we can overcome obstacles. Now the interesting obstacle has become more individualized now because of what's happened in America the past couple of years with the finance sector, the healthcare sector, the education sector, the workplace sector has become very, very challenging right now for us.
Right, right.
So we're dealing with a multitude of challenges out there.
How, we have many boomers who recently lost jobs, been let go, the personalization that goes on with that. And that seems to be a big thing, a big challenge.
It can be traumatic. I tell my peers, and I've experienced this myself too, is to take the personalization away from it. We are defined by who we are, and part of who we are is our work. And a lot of times we take work very personal and very serious as defining really who we are. But I like to think about it as we're more than just what we do, we are who we are. And I think one of the first things is, if you're going through and you're encountering this career life transition, is not to take anything personal, but look at it as more as situational. You may have been downsized. You may have lost your job. You may have come up with some great social upheavals in your life. Look at those things as being situational and not personal, because when you tend to personalize all these things, it can bring you down. You can start having self-doubt. And the last thing you need is self-doubt about who you are when you want to go through a re-careering process.
Right. Well, let's talk about that. Let's talk about that whole re-careering process and
the
what
whole
that
re-careering
means.
in itself, as you mentioned, it is a process. And I think one of the first things that boomers have to do, let's say if you're a midlife boomer that may have lost their job, maybe you've been out of work 6 months, a year, you're in transition right now, is the fact you have to look at this as developing your process, or what I call your career plan. And the first step in the process is take a step back and look introspectively. Understand who you are. Do your analysis, your strengths, challenges, weaknesses, opportunities that you have, plus also look at what is your burning desire. What are the passions that you've had maybe locked up in you that you haven't had a chance to open up and let flourish, if you will. You're finding many people right now who are in midlife transitions that are changing total careers because they've always wanted to do something, but for a reason that they had to. Maybe they started working young, maybe they got married young, maybe their parents thought they'd be good carpenters or doctors or teachers. All of a sudden in midlife may have lost these positions and now have an opportunity to say, you know, all my life I really wanted to do this. So what I encourage people to do is follow your dream. Look introspectively. What is it that you're really looking for?
So let's slow down on that just for a second then. So one of the key characteristics of a boomer is you followed other people's plans.
Yes.
And so here's where you are now. and it becomes an opportunity to say, well, where do I want to go now?
Absolutely.
And that's what you mean by recareering.
Recareering is where do I want to go? What is it that I really enjoy doing? What is my passion that I really feel inside that I like to just kind of let out and also build the blocks of part of the passion in terms of making it into a career?
And then let's try to get down to even more specific around this awareness and becoming that kind of following my dreams. You mentioned kind of the values part. What do you value? What is it that drives you? What are you interested in? And I assume in there also, what are you good at?
Exactly.
The other one, so your skills. Where do I go? How do I find? I mean, do I go off and sit on a rock somewhere? I mean, where does this happen that I have this?
Scott, there are so many resources, especially we're blessed in Wisconsin, have a lot of resources. There are a lot of resources to talk about just the whole recareering process.
Okay.
First of all, you can connect with local resources, your universities and colleges. The technical school system is a great resource to be able to go and find information on how to begin to develop your assessment.
So let's take that. What does the two-year college have? What am I finding there?
Well, what's interesting there is you will see a variety of maybe new jobs that have opened up that you may have some kind of periphery connection to, or could be able to take your job skills and your passions and focus them into a two-year course of learning, which may in turn lead you on a path to a position.
But I don't even know yet who I am.
Well, that's the key. First of all, you have to identify and understand who you are.
Where do I go to find that?
Self-assessments. Well, your WISC Careers resource here where you can go on and do assessments. There are public, there are private organizations that offer assessment techniques, etc. And basically engage in those. There's a lot of resources, again, at the local level to be able to go in and really define your strengths, your weaknesses, what you might need additional schooling at. The WISC Career Program is a terrific program because it lays everything out there for you that you can continue to follow up on.
And you can get this kind of thing at the technical college, but also at the job centers. And maybe just a little bit about, because that seems like a resource that's right there.
The job centers are huge resources at the local level there to be able to go and talk to counselors, look at the programs that they have, look at what the marketplace is bearing, what maybe the new positions might be out there, maybe what new companies are looking for. And it's really interesting when you look at recareering and boomers going back into the workforce, those that want to continue back in the workforce. There are a lot of periphery jobs or pieces of jobs out there that will fit your passion and your skill level.
Right.
You just need to identify those and redirect, and here's where job service counselors play a very vital role.
So the first step, self-awareness, taking some assessments that might be out there can be very helpful. Getting and going out to the college, talking to advisors, looking at the different opportunities, job centers, find out opportunities, that's part of that whole awareness. That's part of that exploration process.
It's part of the exploration process, and that's a key point, Scott. The exploration process, you have to engage, and you have to be proactive in this process. You have to extend your network. I like to look at my network of extending the whole career development process as sort of like a wheel. I am the hub of the wheel, and my network are the spokes of the wheel extending out from who I am. So once you've identified what you'd like to do, what your strengths are, what additional areas that you need skill development or competencies in, you can begin to work out from that in terms of accessing the organizations that can help you with that, accessing the educational institutions that will help fill that skill gap, if you will, or develop maybe new competencies to go after that particular position you want, but also extend the scope of your network and
Now,
in terms of contacts.
What's strange about that, and you're talking about networks and social and relying on people, I see the baby boomers as self-reliant.
Well, we are self-reliant, but we're also the greatest group of networkers that you can imagine.
Okay.
We are 100% connected and networked out there. Now, we might not be in the masses of individuals, however, we are connected on the web and through the internet and through, you can look at the biggest phenomenon now is social networking. Do not underplay the opportunity for social network sites as well to help you in your recareering process and all
That's
that.
right.
Part of that is the engagement, but you never know what a contact or a colleague or a networking group might do to lead you to another potential source of an opportunity.
So, and let's come back to that, especially as we talk about the job search process. But so phase one, the awareness, the exploration begins. I realize there's something I want to do. And it seems like there's something in the way, education, skill sets, and other things. So walk me through that. As a boomer, what should I be thinking about now as my plan when I say I want a re-career?
Well, I think part of it, once you have identified who you are and what after your assessment process, which will give you a skill gap, if you will, if there is a skill gap,
Okay.
or will also lead you to a potential source to take what you already have.
What are some of the normal gaps that means I'm not crazy, that I'm not, you know, way out of bounds? What are the basic skill gaps that we should expect?
Well, one thing might be through technology. So we
Okay.
could say, because maybe boomers have been working 30 years in a managerial position or have been a leadership position, maybe their IT skills or their technology skills aren't quite as good as they could be. So I would look at that. If technology is one area that you need to improve yourself, lots of resources out there.
Learn it.
In terms of to
That's
learn
right.
it. You can self-learn it, you can go to technical schools, college, lots of opportunities now in terms of increasing your technology. Now, if it's a specific skill set, like maybe project management or leadership skills, what we used to call the soft skills now are coming back into vogue now. It may be taking a certificate program or getting engaged in a course of study to help you with your managerial skills.
Okay.
If managing and facilitating people is part of your strength and you'd like to transfer that, maybe you need some improving or upgrading of those particular skills and all that. The other thing that I encourage boomers to do is go back to school with younger generation students to understand what's going on in their world. Because what you have now, an interesting phenomena, is you've got 4 generations in the workplace right now. And one of the biggest transitions for boomers now is saying, yes, I want to go back into the workforce. Am I ready to be led by a person 30 years younger than me?
And again, how do I relate to that person?
And how do I relate to that person?
So going back to college, and you were mentioning certificate programs. We're not talking about 6-year programs.
No.
Some of these can be, with the education you walk in with, a 1 year, 6 months,
Absolutely.
2 year. Just depends on what you have kind of in the book.
Well, I look at that as your episodic educational exploration, if you will. 1 to 2 years of episodic education to get back and retool yourself and help you out. Tremendous opportunities
And
there.
it lets you connect with the different generations, helps you. And one of the things that's interesting, and we've talked to some other students that were older when they went back for the first time, they were amazed at how age was not the issue. It was the projects they were working on with the team. And what they were learning was that was the whole front and center issue.
Well, in the business world right now, the task is the boss. The task is the boss. All organizations now are looking for problem solvers, are looking for people to be able to connect with customers, members, achieve organizational goals. And you take the individual away from that, and the task is the boss now. So the real interesting phenomena that's in the workplace for boomers to come back is to acculture themselves a little bit to dealing maybe with multi-generation folks and all that. And what better way to understand the younger generation? It would be like me going back to school with my daughter for a semester to understand her world.
And so you're going back into the school, you're getting the skills, but also, as we said at the beginning, or what ties it together is, you're making your own choices. You're creating your own pathway. And I think that in the re-careering, it's sort of establishing your own personal roadmap.
Absolutely. I mean, you're establishing not only your roadmap, but your brand, your new brand, your second, what I call second career brand, if you will. And you're finding a lot of boomers doing that right now. They're beginning to hone and saying, you know,
what does that mean, my
well,
brand?
my brand is who I am and what I can contribute.
Okay.
So my brand is I want to bring this to the workplace. And when you do go back into the recurring and looking at the potential workplace, one of the things that the recruiters and the organization can ask you is, what are you bringing to the workplace?
They want to know what you have to offer
Absolutely.
to make this a stronger place.
It's not what you can take from the organization, it's what you can contribute to the organization.
And organizations are going to invest in you, I assume.
Absolutely. And if you want them to invest in you being a midlifer, it might not be for huge numbers of years and all that, but again, organizations right now are looking at what can you do for me now?
Right now.
What can you do for me right now?
It's sort of like what we want from our Packers.
Absolutely. What can you do for me right
That's
now?
right.
And it's what I call just-in-time working, if you will. What can you do for me now? Because I can't wait 5 to 10 years to develop you.
Yeah.
I need you to come in from the get-go, bring your A game to me, your skills, your backgrounds, fit right in, which is huge right now. Assimilate into the culture of the organization, knowing that it's going to be multi-gen, and contribute to the outcomes of that organization.
So give me some examples of what that branding looks like. What are some of the things? I mean, the boomers are already coming in with things. I mean, one of the things I guess we have to say is you're not re-careering because you don't have anything to start with. So what are those unique qualities that if I'm going to be branding myself, what might that look like?
Well, if I'm going to be branding myself, if I've been working 20, 25 years, I would take the absolutely top 3 skill sets that I've honed
Okay.
over my past 25 years.
For example.
And develop them out. Say I'm a good machinist, or say I'm a really good woodworker, or I'm an excellent project manager because I've managed people, I've managed tasks. I would hone in on the top three areas of competency that I really know I've really got something I can contribute. So I encourage folks to really focus on your key skill sets, your key competencies that after 20, 25 years at something, you have really honed and developed, and be able to have that prepared to be able to transition out with the understanding that you're also willing to be a learner as well.
Okay.
That you will learn more as you're part of that. And again, I think people, part of the assessment that should come out in an assessment with folks to really tap into what are their real strengths and skills are, and how can they bring that to the workforce. Or if I've had a great career in manufacturing, or I produce things, how can you take that top quality that you have, facilitating the production of something into another workplace? So I'd really focus on those key skill sets.
Absolutely. And then that becomes part of what you're building off of.
That should be your anchor. All of us have got some kind of anchor, Scott. We just need to tap into that, hone that, and that's part of your brand. What is your anchor that you're going to build, and then build around that anchor, if you will. Because employers are looking at what can you do for me now, but they're also looking at what additional resources can you bring to the workplace.
That's right. They were looking for someone that can multitask.
Absolutely.
Add value to different
and
parts
they're
of
also
the
looking for a flexible person as well, not a dogmatic person.
Well, let's talk about that. Now, you got years of experience. You're used to doing things a certain way.
Yep.
That's a big shift then.
That's a big shift for boomers. And that's what I tell boomers as part of the deal is you have to seek the change or be the change you seek in others. Okay. You have to be flexible about that. That's one of the key things, understanding to be able to, willing to learn new things at a quicker pace, being able to put yourself out there in a position to learn new things, as well as taking in new ideas. And I think that's part of connecting with the younger generation, be it through school, be it through work, be it through job shadowing, be it through consultant programs or volunteering. There's a way to connect so you get an idea of what you can transfer back into the workplace.
Well, there's a lot you've said in that too, and we can unpack it. I mean, part of it is that going to school isn't the chore. When you're going back to school, you're actually going to find it's very enjoyable.
Absolutely.
It's part. The process is part of the ride, and that ride of getting in, re-energizing yourself, seeing your capabilities that you can do more than you ever thought you could have done.
It's a way that makes us fresher, and that's the thing that I hear about the older worker. Well, they're kind of older and dowdy, and boy, they're going to come in with their dogmatic ways, et cetera, et cetera.
Where were these people who were there in the 60s?
Where were these people? I don't know.
Where are they now? What happened?
Where are they? Are they retired? Are they moving?
Didn't have that attitude back then.
Some people checked out earlier than others. I don't know, Scott. It's really interesting to me.
Because it's in there. It's just been
there.
dormant for about 20 years.
It's in there. It's been dormant, but now people have the opportunity to unlock that and unleash that.
Yeah.
And it's almost like being given a second chance. This is their second chance opportunities to really develop yourself and really enjoy that segment of life post 50 years of age.
I guess what I find interesting is people who have gone through it sound like that flexible. They're younger. They feel younger. Their attitude of life is totally different. And their attitude towards work totally different. And it's not a personal thing. They see it as the resources they've been able to connect to, the people they've met along the way. And it's that starting that process is really the re-careering. It really begins, I think, with that exploration.
Scott, that's a very key point, is willing to step out of your comfort zone, step outside the box, and begin that process. Because you're right, each step in the process builds more enlightenment and more engagement. And all of a sudden you go, wow, this is really self-fulfilling. Yeah. And when you feel self-fulfilled, it's amazing what you can do.
Right. Well, so we've done two parts of this re-careering. One is the awareness, and I've got to find out who I am. We've talked about there's job centers. The colleges certainly have career services as well to kind of explore the occupations that are going to come through the two-year college, are a great way to explore. Then there's the getting back in the game, and getting back in the game is what are the skill sets that I need, finding out about what these generations are about. And then you talked about the branding, and really that's what you're building towards, the who am I and what makes me unique, and valuing that uniqueness. The next phase is now I got to sell it.
Now you have to sell it. Now you have to sell the brand or sell who you are.
And it seems like that part of the process is really, how do we set up a resume to be that branding? You know, what are some tips you might have?
Well,
around
this
that
is
process?
really interesting because that is one of the key parts of the whole process, is the whole resume process, or the making the connection with the organization. First of all, in terms of developing that, quote, winning resume.
Yeah, the one they all talk about.
The winning resume.
And what is a winning resume?
Well, the
by
winning
way?
resume is whatever gets you hired. Is a
Is
winning
it hired
resume.
or just to the interview?
Well, to me, it's well, if you take it all the way through, it's the
Yeah.
interview as well as the offer. So to me, the interview and offer, you want to close the sale once you get in there. But there are two steps to that. One is getting your foot in the door or your body in the door. And the second part is closing the sale in terms of you and the brand during the interview process. Now, the resume, I'm not a fan of shotgunning or just throw enough resumes out there and something's going to stick. You have to do your homework. You have to research the organization. You have to customize every resume for the particular organization that you're looking for.
What are some examples of that?
An example, if you want to go work at the university, you need to customize a resume that will fit the university culture and what you're looking for.
Okay.
If you're looking for a teaching position or a training position at the university, versus trying to go with the same resume to a manufacturer.
It's not
So
gonna
you
work.
have to look at the industry that you're going toward, the organization, and customize every resume. And I know it sounds like a lot of work, and it is a lot of work. And you have to invest a lot of time in this, but you have to do your homework. Prior to even doing the resume, what I'd suggest folks to do is do informational calls to the organization you might be interested in working, and talk to some folks.
Well, calling, but you can make appointments to go visit.
You can make appointments to go visit. Hopefully, maybe you've connected with them as part of your, quote, networking in the community and all that, where you may at Chamber of Commerce meetings, at educational venues, at cultural programs, meet people that work in these industries, follow up with them,
Right.
call them up, do the informational interview, find out what they may be looking for. They may not have a job now, but 6 months, a year down the road, they may have something. But at least you've identified the kind of organization that you want to work.
So let's slow down a little bit and talk about this information interview and that kind of research and why you're doing it. Before you even build or finish that resume, you're somehow connecting your skills to what the organization needs.
Absolutely.
And what better way to find out than to talk to someone in the organization?
Talk to someone in the organization, and the key thing, ask them a series of questions. What are some of the challenges facing your organization? There could be environmental challenges, they could be workplace challenges, they could be social challenges, they could be business challenges. But the point is, you want to get some kind of insight as to what is going on in that particular organization, i.e. industry, that you might be able to bring a solution to.
That's right. And then you can go back, match up your skills, your branding.
Absolutely.
But it's being done now not only in a targeted way, but a very sophisticated way that you're connecting to their story.
Absolutely.
And I guess what's weird is this idea that I could call someone in a business and, like you indicated, use your network to find out contacts. And they would be interested in talking to me about this?
You'd be amazed how many people want to talk if you just ask. Just talk to them about what are some of the things that you're going through, because obviously all organizations have challenges, but people are always interested in if other people are interested in their business.
Right.
In finding out about them.
They want the best people out there too.
Absolutely.
And one way to find out is better through networking than just posting a resume.
And I have to tell you too, Scott, there's a lot of apathetic workers out there in this day and age where they feel, I'll just throw a resume in, someone will call me, etc. It doesn't work that way.
No.
You have to engage, you have to be interested, you have to show people that you're interested. And again, it might not be something in the immediate future, but down the road, you're
Right.
really planting a seed with people.
So this resume, interestingly, if we use the resume as our only hope, we're really selling ourselves short. That part of this
absolutely.
is it's the networking, it's the history on the company. Who are they about? What are they really looking for?
What are they really looking for? And you want people to remember your face with your resume.
Right.
It's, I want to connect that individual who showed an interest in my company and potentially adding value
Right.
to my company and helping us with solutions to that particular resume.
We've talked about as information interviewing. We've heard people talk about job shadowing. I would assume that's another technique.
Job shadowing is another great technique to come in and kind of in an episodic manner, just find out what people are doing, kind of spend a day, in a manufacturing company or spend a day at the university.
Sure.
I think it's very, very valuable. Also, volunteering. Find out what kind of volunteer connections these organizations have,
Okay.
and get out there and maybe give some of your time to really connect with them and
And
find
again,
out more.
they find out you're a human being with good qualities, and your resume communicates you have the skill set. That's going to get you an interview.
I would see that is a good formula for getting an interview. Now, you also have to lay out the resume in a correct manner with your education, your
So
background.
Let's go into that a little bit. What are the, and I know correct is always the hard one because everyone has their thing, but what are the strategies then for designing a resume as a boomer?
Well, I think you have to write in terms of the organization or the end user.
Okay, and the first line is, what do you want?
Is what do you want?
And you have a cover letter too that's going to actually articulate
You can have a cover letter that's going to articulate these things, but then when you get into the resume, it must be written from the standpoint of, as someone reading this is, will this fit in what I'm looking for? Is this going to fit with my company? Is this going to fit with the culture of my company? That's why I think information about finding out a company's culture can play big, because you might be able to put hot button words in there that could fit the company's culture.
The key skills don't want to be at the bottom of the page.
Absolutely not.
No.
You start out with your key skills, and what can you contribute from the get-go? Because again, people reading a resume, they said they give it the 10-second look, the 30-second look. I've heard things like that.
So we have chronological, we have functional. Where do you sit on that?
Mine is skill sets. Mine is skill sets. What you can contribute, because people, again, time is our most precious commodity, especially in the business world right now. Come right out of the chute with your skill sets.
Here's what I can do.
Here's what I can do. Here's my background. Here's what I can do. Here's what I can do to fit what your organization is looking for. And then from there, your experiential things, and then your education and training, et cetera, et cetera. Now, if you've had like a just-in-time training situation, you can also incorporate that.
What does that mean?
Well, that means I went to re-career myself, and I got a set of skills. I enrolled in a one-year program, a certificate program, to be able to boost my skills.
You want that up high.
Up high, so people see you're keeping yourself fresh, because you got to keep yourself fresh.
So when it says 2010, completed a certificate program in managerial blank.
Absolutely, it's there. It's contemporary. It's not like I completed this in 1980.
That's right.
And the other crucial area I have is stay away from dates on the resume, especially from a boomer. Say a 50, 55-year-old boomer wanting to go for an interview. I would not put down I graduated college in 1968. I worked at a company since 1970. Anything 20 years or more, just put down 20 years experience. Stay away from birth dates.
In other words, say I have experience.
I have experience.
We're not wanting to run away from experience. Not like we're trying to sell ourselves as we're just fresh.
No way.
Okay. But we don't have to necessarily anchor it in a date.
Exactly. I would stay away from dates and all that, because again, if you look at a lot of HR people in the business world, all they're going to do is look at that date and say, too old, too old, too old. And there's a lot of subtle age discrimination going out there too, Scott.
Well, it's subtle because you are protected. I mean, it's not supposed to be happening.
It's not supposed to be. It's not supposed to be. That's why I'm a fan of situational resumes and individualized resumes for the company. Please do not print up 100 resumes and just kind of send them out there. Focus on the industry you're looking for. Customize everything as best you can with your research.
Well, I have to say, though, if you are able to do the steps you're taking, that you're prescribing, to look at the skill sets you have, build on them, match them to what the organization's asking for, that's a winner at any age.
Absolutely.
I mean, that businesses, that's what they're trying to tie together.
And that's the whole thing, is connect those dots. Connect those dots. And too many people out there in the job search don't do that.
Right.
They develop a resume because they feel good about themselves. And it's not about you with this. It's about what the company needs, or that organization is going to need.
I also think, and we've talked to some employers in this last series as well, they want confidence, they want people who can manage stress, that this part of the person who's then getting the interview that they're looking for is a lot more than what kind of grades did you get in a particular class.
Oh, absolutely. Especially with an older worker. Now think of us older workers as boomers, 50-something boomers. We've been through the kabuki. We've been through the stress. We've been through the issues. We can spot situations like that. I mean, if any of us are worth our salt, you know, based on our past work experiences over 30 years, think about what you could bring to the workplace to cut through all of some of these issues.
I don't have to get caught up in the day-to-day crises.
Nobody gets caught up in that. No one's playing one-upmanship. At midlife, you just want to contribute.
That's right.
You just want to contribute and
get
feel
the
good
job
about
done.
what you're doing, get the job done. Again, the task is the boss. I can help maybe facilitate everyone around the task, which should be a big plus for older workers based on our experiences and all that.
So I guess what I'm reframing it as is, you don't have to be apologizing for age. Age is actually an asset.
Absolutely.
And it's a question of showing who the employer the assets that you're bringing in, because that's all they want.
That's all they're looking for. And again, it's not about you as an individual. It's how do you fit in this organization and how will you help me meet these needs?
That's right. They want someone who's going to contribute and show me you're going to be able to contribute.
And they're not going to invest a lot of time in it. Again, they want that just in time. We want you to come in, bring your A game right away. And I would think, and I have a lot of faith in the boomers based on their experiences and all that, is that we have got a lot of experiences, a lot of background that we could bring to the current workplace
Right.
and really help that employer from the get-go in
right.
terms of solving organizational problems,
Okay.
dealing with issues, selling more products and services to their customers and members. So there's a lot we can offer that's already packaged there. We just need to unleash it and present it in the proper way.
And part of that is shifting the attitude from a loss to an opportunity, working on the skill sets, focusing on career occupations that match your awareness of who you are, what you want to do, the passions that are in there. And that's going to come through. And then the foot in the door, you've indicated, it's going to come through because you're connecting, you're networking, you're building a sense of what's out there, what's possible, and then getting a resume that connects those skill sets up with the individuals. The other piece is, I'm just going to look at a question that's coming in. What do you think about the online resumes? Should we also be mailing resumes, even though they want something that's online, which feels a little bit interpersonal?
I realize that's a big thing right now, that folks want online, organizations want online. Again, if it's a customized online resume, I have no problem with that, trying to custom, but again, it takes the personal thing out of that. So I would say don't give up on that. I'd say continue that, but again, don't put all your eggs in one basket thinking just because you sent in an online resume, you're going to get an immediate response.
That's right. Well, and a lot of times it's the HR person who's doing it all. So how assertive, how direct are we? Are we emailing that person? Are we calling? What should we be doing?
Well, I think we should be sending the information that they want it. And again, most folks want it online right now, but also a follow-up call would
Right.
not hurt, finding out the status of that. But to me, more importantly, would be to try to go to that decision maker that you may have had a contact with in the company
Okay.
and inform them that, by the way, I did apply for this particular position.
So one of the big strategies, the networking piece, is you know more about what's going on with the job because hopefully before you've even sent the resume in, you've connected with the people that are in the positions. The HR person's sort of the go-between.
Absolutely.
There's someone else that has the position, knows what they're looking for, and they're the ones that are going to be reviewing ultimately those resumes that meet the basic
And
minimum.
I've had experiences where that VP or that CEO will go to the HR person and say, could you please pull me the resume because I know so-and-so has sent this in.
That's
could you
right.
please pull this resume so I could review that?
That's right. So
because I know
the
this person.
networking has to be one of the most important strategies you can have.
Huge.
Yeah.
FaceTime communication time is
Right.
huge prior to the resume.
That's right. All right. It seems like a winner. As we get ready for the interview, then, what should we be thinking? What should we be doing? How do we prepare to make that a great
This
experience?
is probably the most tactical strategies that you have got to hone as a interviewee, as a potential job prospect. Because again, you might be a midlifer, and maybe it's been years and years since you've gone through the interview process. One, there are a lot of consulting groups out there, a lot of courses on how to interview correctly. So I would say if you're really feeling intimidated, maybe you haven't interviewed in a long time, take a course,
do it.
Get some training on how to do it. There are a lot of online resources as well
right.
in terms of the whole interview process. There's
That's
all
right.
kinds of information out there.
Yeah.
But the other key thing is practice on how you come across. Because again, look at yourself and put yourself in the position of an interviewer. Do I come across as being positive? Am I dressed professionally or dressed for the position that I'm applying for? So very important, you don't want to overdress, you don't want to underdress, but you want to go in with a positive outlook. And your face and your eyes and your body language has to be very, very positive. And a lot of people overlook that. They think, well, I'll just go for the interview, I'll put on a new suit or I'll put on a new dress, and I'll just go in.
Well, and I have to believe that employers aren't looking for a show.
They're not looking for a show. They're looking for the real you. They're looking for the real you. They've seen you on paper now. Okay, they may have met you at a place or two before as an
Sure.
acquaintance, but now they have a chance to really get to know you a little bit
That's
more.
right. And so how you're presenting yourself in the interview really isn't about trying to put on something. It's really about you trying to represent yourself
Absolutely.
in a way that they can see you for what you're about. And
And-
you want that because you want them to be, in a sense, giving a job to you based on understanding who
Absolutely. It's the validation of who you are, is that FaceTime interview.
Yeah.
And I think one of the key things that people need to do is really, again, do their homework and prepare for this as best they can, i.e. the research of the company,
Right.
the research of maybe the individual department that you
Right.
might be interviewing for.
Yeah.
But the key thing that I would do is prior to the interview, I would talk to that HR person, ask them, a couple of key questions. Could you please tell me what are some of the challenges for your organization, or the challenges of this position?
Right.
Okay.
Right.
Or if the position has been vacant, why has it been vacant?
That's right.
To kind of do a little research to find out
That's right.
what's going on with the particular position and all that.
That's right.
Also, during the interview process, once you find out this information,
Right.
I would develop 3 talking points of how you can help that organization with an issue, a challenge. What's the value added that you will bring to the position?
Yeah.
And stay on your message.
Here's what I'm about.
Here's what I'm about. Here are my 3 key talking points, is that if you hire me, this is what I can bring to your organization.
But you also need to want to be in that organization.
Oh, absolutely.
So there's got to be questions coming back at them.
Well, the questions coming back at them is, please describe the culture to me. And let me go back to that, Scott. That's a very key question. Too many times what really hurts an interview is when the interviewer asks you, do you have any questions at the end? And you just want to get it over with. And you say, nope, that's it, thank you. Do not ever leave without asking questions of the organization.
What is that? What does the questions do? I mean,
the question shows that you have an interest in the organization, you want to find out more about the organization, and the fact that it gives a follow-up opportunity for the potential interviewer to follow up with you.
it seems also it tells the interviewer just how diligent you've been in looking at their company.
Absolutely.
And they probably want somebody who does their homework.
People want people that have an interest in wanting to join them, join their cause, join their organization.
Right.
A couple key questions I would ask is, what is the culture of this organization? What is the culture? What are the values of the organization?
How do you treat people?
How do you treat people?
That's right.
How are people evaluated? How is performance evaluated?
Right.
How do you deal with expectations, in the workplace?
Conflict.
How do you deal with conflict? Also, what are the challenges going forward of the position?
That's right.
And
That's
also, what are the opportunities for contributions that I can bring to the organization?
That's right.
Remember, this whole interview process is really not so much about you, it's how so much you will fit into his or her interviewer's plans.
Right. And I want to clarify too, you mentioned staying on message, but that doesn't mean that you shouldn't be inflexible, that they're gonna provide you with ideas about other contributions they're needing beyond what may be in the stated job description.
Well, I think that's a good point too. You'll have your message, but you'll also have the flexibility to say, beyond these things, I'm also open to continuous learning, continuous assisting, going above and beyond,
right.
going 24/7, maybe. How flexible are you in terms of what the workload is needed, or how much of your time or input is going to be needed on the job?
That's right.
You have the opportunity now to build on that, especially if you're really focused on, if you feel that this particular job is really living out your dream or your passion, that will come out in the interview.
Okay. So some of the key strategies, because you're nervous, you probably haven't interviewed for a while, or maybe you've had too many interviews.
Right.
Practice. And then you mentioned there's online resources to be able to learn about what makes a good interview. But part of it is really trying to make that a craft. It is about being real, but in order for you to be a real person, you've got to let go of the nervousness. You've got to have a sense of what you want to say, so that at the end of the interview, you've been able to present yourself the way you wanted to be presented.
You never get a second chance at, again, an interview like that, so this is your one shot.
Yeah.
So it's like preparing for an acting role, or it's
Right.
preparing for a role. Sure, you're going to bring out who you are, but you also have to craft yourself
Right.
and craft your skills at fitting into that, because none of us do regular interviews on a regular basis.
Right.
That's
right.
maybe a periodic kind of situation that we're in. So
Right.
especially those folks that maybe have been through too many or not enough, craft it a little bit. Learn some of the
Sure.
techniques for a positive interview.
That's right. Going back a little bit, there was a question that came in around, have you heard anything about any movement to create an age-neutral application? So trying to create something where people aren't able to really discern age.
Well, I haven't heard anything about that, other than the fact that maybe age wouldn't be put on it. I think a lot of times they'll put on for legal reasons, or to profile you a little bit, if you
Right.
will.
Yeah.
That would be an interesting concept to have. I would like to think, as we become more of a tolerant society and respect the diversity that people bring to the workplace, i.e. in terms of older
Right.
workers, that we wouldn't have to deal with age.
Right. The
Age to me
issue-
should not be the issue.
And I think we heard from some employers saying that age was not, I mean, and many of the ones we were talking with had actually been hired as boomers, that age is, as you keep indicating, it's not about the age, it's about what can you do for this organization.
Well, to me, those are the top companies that are going to get the best of the brightest of the older worker, because they don't have these barriers.
Right.
Unfortunately, some companies do have these subtle ways of wanting to cull out older workers. But I love those companies, and they're listing out there. AARP has published the top 50, 100 companies in the United States that.
Well, we don't want them going out of Wisconsin.
We want them staying here. So I want all those great companies in Wisconsin
That's right.
to not worry so much about age, but the competency, the background, the skills that people, midlifers, whatever you want to term that, will bring to the workplace.
And what we've indicated, the critical strategy is show that you're fresh, show the confidence that you know what you know, that you've got the skills that we need for today's workforce, which you mentioned IT. We've talked about the social skills. We've talked about the ability to work across generations, the flexibility and adaptability that goes in today's world of work.
The task is the boss.
But recognize that what you bring that's unique that the other generations have some of, but maybe not as much, is the tenacity, the work hard ethic.
Absolutely.
The things that are that made boomers what they are still very powerful qualities.
Well, Scott, that's the thing. You don't want to get in a situation where just because you've had all these great experiences, that's a hindrance to you.
That's right.
I would think that organizations would look at that as a welcoming, value-added opportunity to be able to transition these skills that someone had in one career or industry into their own.
That's right.
But the other thing that I don't want to fall short on is let the passion come out. Let the passion come out that you have for what you do and who you are, and let that show to the interviewer.
That's right. That's right. The interview process then. Other things I can do wrong? You've mentioned dress. You've mentioned are there any things to avoid doing, or is there?
Well, you don't want to come across apathetic.
Okay.
You don't want to come across with really short, curt answers. You want to develop your answers a little bit, because don't forget, you have a finite time here. Or an interview, you may have an hour interview or half-hour interview, where that interviewer is going to have to do a lot of psychological assessing about you. Okay, so you have to let it all out in terms of who you are. So you don't want to give short answers. You don't want to come across apathetic. You want to maintain good eye contact with the interviewer. Your skill sets should be there. Also, if you need to do follow-up with any material that the interviewer would want, you should have that available as well, and open to opportunities. From that standpoint, are there any additional things that I could bring or enlighten you with? And you should always do a follow-up phone call after the interview.
Okay.
A follow-up phone call is very important. You're going to thank the interviewer for their time and the opportunity. Plus, you're also going to say, is there anything else I could bring to the table or offer you now that the interview is finished, now that you've had some time to think about that?
Okay. Well, I've also seen thank you emails.
Also, thank you emails. Don't ever understand. The key thing is politeness goes a long way as well. Good courtesies, good skill courtesies go a long way as well, especially for our generation. We're used to doing a lot of that. The follow-up is also very important.
Let's talk about those questions again. So I ask a question. One, it's important, I assume, to answer the question.
Yep.
I mean, that's critical. But as you indicated, it's not a short answer. The question becomes an opportunity to share who you are as a person. It's not just a give me the answer that I need to hear. It's tell me who you are in relation to the answer.
Stay away from yes or no answers. You could say, I saw you were successful in this particular endeavor, instead of saying yes, here's what we did.
Elaborate.
Elaborate on your experiences. Elaborate on your accomplishments.
Right.
Elaborate how you may have done something monumental in your previous job, or you saved the company from disaster, or you brought in huge amounts of business. Elaborate on those key things, again, after you understand what kind of culture that you're attempting to connect with. All those things that will give the interviewer an insight. Boy, if we brought this person on the team, this person can bring all this background and experience. And
it seems critical, too, that you're needing to ask the questions of them to make sure you're personally feeling like a good fit for the organization.
Oh, absolutely. Well, one thing that we are doing, it's not that everyone is desperate for a job, but we want to make sure we get the right job.
Right.
So let me tell you, us interviewees are interviewing the company just as much as the company is interviewing us.
That's right.
So we want to find out, is this going to be a right fit for me? Will this work for me? Or 4, 5, 6 months down the road, I get disillusioned, this isn't the right fit for me.
And then nobody wins.
It's a no-win situation.
That's right.
Absolutely correct. And you start the process all over again. But think of all the wasted time and resources. That's why I think it's critically important to research the companies, the organizations, the businesses that you want to focus your energies into.
And again, coming back to the skill sets, do you have the skill sets to do this position and grow into it? And a lot of times, many positions want to see the initial skills, and they'll provide opportunities for you to continue growing. But there's an attitude in that.
There's an attitude that, yes, I want to continue my learning. And I have to say that's one thing that baby boomers have always grew up with, is the continuous learning and development. I really think the boomer generation invented continuing education because we had to keep our skill sets, because there was such a rapid change from the time that we grew up
Oh my
to the
gosh.
21st
From the
century.
70s to-
Everything just accelerated, Scott.
Yeah.
So we had to keep our learning curve up, and that should be a very positive thing that older workers could bring to the workplace. We constantly keep our learning curve up. We're always looking for more information, education, enlightenment, development. That's part of the boomer genre.
And that's just a matter of connecting that to what the jobs are needing right now.
Absolutely.
That's right.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Focus on the needs of that particular job with these employers.
Yeah.
Everyone has needs out there. It's how can you take your skill set to help that employer meet that need.
So we've kind of walked through some processes, and I want to just kind of summarize a little bit about this whole re-careering thing. And one is really the self-awareness. Not approaching this being out of a job or being underpaid or not happy. Look at the opportunity that's possible, and that's an attitude shift. One away from loss, personalizing to, yes, there's opportunities, and I can learn that through connecting with job centers, connecting with our colleges, getting on the internet, look at what's available. The next phase is really looking, you mentioned it as a gap analysis. What are the skills that are needed right now, and especially the IT is one of those easy ones to quantify. But there's also the social skills, understanding how to work with generations. Am I ready for a boss who just graduated from college? Those kind of dynamics I have to be able to know I can move into as well, because that's part of today's world of work. The getting the interview is about networking. It's about building a resume that ties to the company, but the only way you can tie to the company is having known something about it. And I think the interpersonal experience is probably stronger than the research, although that's important too. And then finally, within the interview, going in confident, going in knowing something about the business, something about yourself that's going to be offered in that, and having a performance that's you being yourself in that situation. This whole genre we've been doing, which is important as a re-career, is really about how I can make myself employable. Why don't we shift gears a little bit to the entrepreneurial part? And it seems like this is an area that boomers are cut out for.
Absolutely. Well, here's the interesting thing about the entrepreneurial area is when you maybe have exhausted these areas, say that there aren't opportunities out there from the, quote, normal business or organization standpoint.
Right.
Many boomers are deciding it's time for me to do my own thing, if you will. And we kind of grew up with that desire in many cases, but a lot of times that was sort of put on hold because of necessity, that we had to get jobs and get in the workplace and get insurance benefits and start families and things like that. But at midlife, boomerpreneurship is huge right now. Many of us are starting our own businesses, like I did at 48 years old. I started my own business.
How do you do this?
Again, similar process, self-assessment. The only difference is you interview yourself and you say, you know, I have a skill, a saleable skill that I can sell to an organization as a consultant, as a seller, a developer of products and services. I have something that other people need.
Well, one might also argue that the boomer generation is the idea generation. You've probably got strong ideas that can be sold.
Strong ideas, or also approaches saying, you know, I think I could do this better. I think if I used my own ideas, I could do this better. And a lot of boomers, too, in the traditional workplaces in the past, maybe some of their ideas were shut down, maybe there was one-upmanship, maybe there were a variety of things. But that's why people have kind of peeled off, and the starting your own business is huge right now.
Okay.
Matter of fact, a lot of us in Wisconsin, there are a lot of entrepreneurial boomers.
Yes.
There are a lot of folks moving into green jobs. There are a lot of people moving to tech areas and all that. There are a lot of people self-sustaining, growing their own food. So there's a lot of opportunity there as well, as if you're that type of person. And again, it's all premised on, are you that type of personality? Are you a self-starter, a self-motivator? Do you believe that you can impact? Can you make a difference? These are things you have to roll up as part of your assessment.
There's risk involved.
Huge risk involved. There's dollars, time, development. It takes 3 to 5 years to develop the brand of the organization. So it's not going to be easy. It might be harder as you get a little bit older. But the point is, if you got the passion in here, that's where it all starts.
So a lot of times you're holding yourself back.
Absolutely.
And what we really want is all those kind of closet entrepreneurs. It's time to get out.
It's time to get out.
And
get rid
there's
of the
support.
fear factor.
There's resources and support.
All kinds of support out. You got the Small Business Administration. Again, you got your university systems. You got your entrepreneurial groups. You got public and private groups out there helping people out.
And they have entrepreneur organizations or some kind of units that are designed to support
all
you.
kinds. There's the SCORE people, the retired executives here in the area. I mean, there's every community has got groups that are out there. The state of Wisconsin encourages entrepreneurial development and all that. But the key thing is you have to be the self-starter. If you're that personality that you have what I call the no fear factor and are ready to go and don't fear failure, but follow your passion, these are the strong opportunities that you have to develop your own business.
We've got a few minutes left. There's two things I want to hopefully go through. One of them is you've got a lot of excitement for boomers. What is it you want them to know about this process? So I've got someone who's just lost their job. What do you want them to know?
Do not take it personal. There is opportunity out there. Look at it as situational. Begin your plan. Begin your plan. Plan your work. Work your plan, if you will. Go through the steps that we discussed here. There are opportunities out there. And trust me, once you bridge that fear gap or the gap of the unknown, which means getting out of your comfort zone a little bit, reaching outside the box a little bit, the opportunities are enormous out there for you to start a very productive and fulfilling, what I call second life, if you will. Boomers, it's estimated that we will live longer than any other previous generation. It's estimated right now if a person turns 65, they'll live another 20 years.
Wow.
So if you look at the engagement, the opportunities to engage, my mantra, Scott, is 60's the new 40, 50's the new 30. So look at this as an opportunity to not so much start over, but continue the development and all that.
That's right.
With the excitement that there are resources out there, there are opportunities out there for you.
Let's say, one of the things you've talked about, get engaged, get started, get moving. Many of our boomers have started college, they've started something. And it just seems like one of the messages is finish.
Finish, absolutely.
Get that degree.
You got to show up and finish.
Yeah.
Don't get discouraged.
Yeah.
Part of the problem is too many boomers get discouraged. They think, oh my gosh, I don't have the energy. I'm older now. I'm not like I was when I was 30.
Jump back in.
You can do it. Jump back into the game. Again, take care of your health. Take care of your mind, body, spirit, everything. Position yourself to be able to stay engaged.
That's right.
And not give up.
That's right. And if you've got part of that degree started, finish that degree.
Oh,
'Cause that
absolutely.
accomplishment is something that's going to add value to your life because you know you've got something.
Scott, hope is not a strategy. Luck is not a strategy. It's opportunity and preparation, and keep yourself going and growing and staying engaged. And you're going to have to invest in yourself. You're going to have to be self-motivated. And I guess it goes back to how bad do you want it? How bad do you want it? And you know what? If we want it bad enough, we can do it.
Now, one of the unique things that you do personally is you organize Boomerfest.
Yes.
Tell me about that.
The last 2 years, I've organized an expo in town here where it's a B2B type of expo, boomers to businesses.
Okay.
So what I try to do is link up boomer generation consumers with businesses and organizations that provide value-added services to enhance their lifestyles.
That's awesome.
So we just finished one up about a month and a half ago here in town, and we had a bunch of vendors show up from the health care area. You folks participated with careers from the employment, health, financial, lifestyle area, all to be able to promote products and services to help enhance our lifestyles.
Okay. So it is focusing on the networking. It's focusing on opportunities. It's basically saying, look what we can do.
Look what we can do, and look at all the resources that are out there for you.
That's right.
You just have to get out there and be proactive and tap into your resources.
So I assume there's a Boomerfest 3.
Yes, planning's in the works for 2011.
Okay, and you generally do it, you said it in the March area?
Springtime. Springtime for that, yep.
Okay, and it'll be in the Madison area?
In the Madison area, because this is home.
Okay.
This
all
is
right.
home. And a bedrock for boomer activity.
Bedrock for boomer
This
activity.
is a bedrock for boomer activity.
Well, in many places throughout the state, but certainly they can come for a weekend.
Oh, absolutely.
And visit and go through
Absolutely.
the whole thing and get connected.
And there'll be more information on our website, and I encourage anyone to tap into our website, theamericanboomer.com.
And that's one word.
One word, theamericanboomer.com. Lots of resources out there, recurring resources, lifestyle resources. That's our whole goal.
That's
Is
awesome.
to help enhance the lifestyle of the boomer generation.
You know, it's when we started this series, you know, there's a crisis going on, and I think there's been so many of at least the expectations of the loss. And we take a look at the GM plant going down in Janesville. We take a look at so many parts of our communities in the local Wisconsin community have been hit really hard. But the amount of optimism that's going on among employers, among students that are the older adults that are going back to school and coming out, the sense of possibilities that are going on, there's really two stories.
Absolutely, and you've got to keep that sense of possibility, and I think that's one of the nice things I like to think boomers bring to the table is this optimism that tomorrow's a better day,
Yeah.
and you know, if you can dream it, you can do it.
That's right. And I think that's the part, again, that makes the boomers unique. This is what they grew up with, right?
And that's part of our fabric, and again, as I mentioned before, we were always that generation to want to continue our development and
Excellent.
enhance our lifestyle.
This has been great. Well, this has been a special edition of AmericanBoomer.com, I
All
guess.
right.
This has been a special edition of an afternoon tea, conversations on career and workforce development practice, which was co-sponsored and coordinated by the Center on Education and Work at the University of Wisconsin-Madison and the Chamber of Manitowoc County as part of their Adult Learner Series. To find out more about the Adult Learner Series, there's a total of 4 different conversations we've had. Go to Manitowoc Chamber, that's one word, Manitowoc, M-A-N-I-T-O-W-O-C, chamber.com. In addition, I also want to note the collaboration we've had with many of the colleges, UW-Madison, UW-Manitowoc, Lakeshore Technical College, and Silver Lake College have been instrumental in making this possible. From the technology networking with the Pyle Center here at UW-Madison, our own center here, and to work with Lakeshore Technical Colleges across all these boundaries is because there are people here with visions and imagination that say we are going to make a stronger community. We also have the employment community that's been critical in this success. I want to point out the Carpenters Union Local 731. Their territory covers not only Lakeshore but the northeastern Wisconsin. We had Aurora Medical Center at Two Rivers intimately involved in this, and the Holy Family Memorial Medical Center of Manitowoc. What they want everyone to know as part of this as employers is that in order for today's employers to be competitive and offer state-of-the-art products and services and find appropriately skilled workers, the majority of our adult population must choose to increase their educational and skill levels through college programs. And I think that's one of the things that we really hit on today as well. Finish the degree you've started.
Finish.
If you haven't had a degree, go get one.
Get one.
That this is the kind of value that's going to add not only to your own personal life with your own confidence, but it's what the employers really are going to value as well. Also visit our Center on Education and Work's website at cew.wisc.edu. You can find out more about WISC Careers as well as our Careers Conference. We have a number of other kind of afternoon tea sessions that have been going on. You can find out about those. A number of people have also been involved working with me personally, Linda Fitch and Susan Speth, Bernard Sewitt from the Center on Education and Work, the Pyle Center here again at the UW Extension. So on behalf of the Chamber of Manitowoc County and the Center on Education and Work, I want to express our thanks especially to John Vardallas and invite you all again to go back to the website, theamericanboomer.com, to find some of the resources. John,
Thank you, Scott. It's
thank
been
you
a
so
pleasure.
much. It's been
Thank you
very,
so much.
very, very exciting. Thank you. All right. So there you go. How was it?